I'm really pleased to be joined today by Sabina. So Sabina Jasinska is very kindly giving up some time to go through some questions and share about your story and career highlights to date. So I'm going to do a super quick overview for people who may not be familiar with your profile. So Chief Marketing Officer, sort of 20 years experience, a high level. And we were talking about your USP, and I would say it's that combination of growth marketing and the ability to build teams from the ground up. And I know you'll probably elaborate on that as we get into it, but that's a skill that enables companies to scale at pace. So very, very relevant for what companies are looking to do right now. So most recent role with Team Internet Group, but you've been a chief growth officer for Codec AI, Transfer Room, amongst others. So I'll let you give us the full picture, but thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, Suzie. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure. So let's start with the one that kind of gives us that real background. Would you be so kind just to explain a bit more about your career journey? What led you to where you are now, and any standout moments along the way?
Yes, thank you. So I actually began my career as an attorney, specializing in labor law litigation.
Wow.
But growing up in communist Poland, with closed borders, I always wanted to live abroad, speak languages, and be part of that global environment. And that dream really shaped all my career and my life as well. So that's why I joined corporate America, R. Donnelley, one of the oldest American companies, Fortune 500, 80,000 people, $12 billion revenue, but most importantly, 600 locations. I started in New York, and I promised myself that within a year I would move to Paris. But actually, 5 months later, I was promoted and I was transferred to Luxembourg to manage the office there. And I was working hard, promoted every year, every 6 months, growing my teams. I was in operations, and I really lived my dream life. Thanks to the company, I lived in Hong Kong, in New York, in Luxembourg, in Rome, in Paris, Warsaw, London, you name it. And I also traveled a lot because I was a company motivator. So also building morale and bringing that up morale of the team that were going through different struggles. But I saw that there is much more that could be done, and the opportunity was when we wanted to separate our brand as the division of this massive corporate from the main company. And I was actually given the opportunity to build the marketing team from the ground up. So to build a new brand, to build new functions and processes, and introduce new tools, which I've done, which was an incredible opportunity. I don't know how many people are actually given such a task, those big corporations. I surrounded myself by brilliant people. I also worked closely with Forrester Research, serious decisions on introducing their PMM model. So I learned on the job, creating those value propositions, buyer personas, messaging framework. I also did my MBA. So it was an incredible opportunity. But also it was a story of a massive success. So actually in those 6 years, when I managed those teams, we grew from 6 million to 130 million, 5 locations to 30 locations. I opened 14 of those in 1 year on 3 continents. We grew from 50 people to 400 people, and from a complete no one, a drop in the ocean, in a very highly competitive market, we became what is now #1 translation technology company in the world. So we were actually doing LLMs before they were cool. And it was an incredible opportunity also because we had to increase visibility. So I was the brand ambassador, the face of the company, joining every important board, speaking at every conference, joining content committees, UNESCO projects, you name it. So fantastic journey. And after that, I took that mindset to startups in London, which were not only we wanted to grow, but where also had an opportunity to lead the marketing and sales teams. So also building those teams from the ground up, including the SDRs, the sales processes, overseeing the whole sales cycle. So it was also a great opportunity. And then back to the big corporate, a big technology holding company as a chief marketing officer, also with the task of building those new processes, building new brands, and making a sense of this corporate jungle. So overall, I'm very grateful for those opportunities. And I really believe that the fact that I was exposed to law, as well as operations, sales, and marketing helps me in being a chief marketing officer, because it helps you understand the entire customer journey, which is a massive, massive advantage.
Wow, is I think my first kind of comment off the back of that. So many things that popped in my head as you're talking through that. So you were doing what you described as that role of being the company motivator. You were quite early in your career then at that point.
Yes, but it came from the fact that the first few years at university, I spent in the library. I have 4 masters, an MBA, many certificates, and joining corporate America really gave me so much pleasure. Working with people, going to the office every day, and my manager, the CEO, noticed that I was making people happy around me, and that's why naturally he thought that it would be a good idea to send me around to London, to Hong Kong, to New York, and really work with those teams who are going through quality issues, different burnout, and different other problems to help increase the morale review processes. And I've been doing that year after year, in addition to my day-to-day job, and it was a massive, massive pleasure. And it also helped me live my dream life. So really travel the world, see all the people, speak many languages. I really, really loved it, and that's why.
How many languages do you speak?
I every day 3. But I'm fluent in a few more, and I used to learn 17. Yes, well, yes.
And on the motivation and sort of networking side, you're a natural networker. People will be listening to that, and that doesn't come naturally to everyone. Do you think that is a skill that is innately within your personality, or is it something that you've learned and developed along the way?
I think you have it in you because you need to love people, and you generally want to spend time with others. That's why some people meditate. I go to conferences. I go to conferences on my day off. I go to conferences on my birthday, and I can chat my day away because I really love being with people. And I even coined this saying that I take energy from other people. That's why everyone is so exhausted around me. But at the same time, there are things that you can learn. And one of the pieces of advice is ask questions. Ask minimum 5 questions, and let other people speak. And people are really open to talking about themselves. Everybody loves it. You can perfect that and just ask 1 question. Tell me your secret, or tell me your story. People love telling you everything about them. But also, I think one experience that really helped me to be fearless was joining politics. So I was very active in local politics in Warsaw. And in one day, I will be on television 3 times, at 1 and 2, at 3, and then coming back home and reading all the nasty comments from my constituents, or facing shouting voters on the street. So that really makes you stronger. So just don't be afraid. Put yourself in those difficult situations, and that will really make you stronger.
Thank you for that. Let's talk briefly now about strategy, because one of your skills where you excel is this ability to help companies with this growth strategy. So how have you honed those skills, and how do you use them in an environment where we're seeing constant change?
Mm-hmm. I think the answer is actually very simple, because for us marketers, strategy always starts with the customer. And of course, technologies and tools are changing, but people are people. And only those brands that offer that excellent customer experience are going to stand out in the market. And as CMOs, we have this unique position on the C-suite because we actually represent the voice of the customer, which gives us this incredible power if we actually use it. But the problem that everybody has is like what the clients really want, because that changes so rapidly. And we can talk about like the obvious example of Uber. That years back you were happy to find a taxi on a rainy day in New York, and now you want that taxi to smell nice, you want to have a pleasant conversation, you want to have a bottle of water, and you want to pay half the price. So we're surrounded by those technologies that change the way what we expect as customers as well. And of course, you see all those good examples of companies that pivot. So Zoom during the pandemic, or even Nestle is now producing some healthy noodles. So everybody's like really trying to find like what is the next trend. And for me, so this is a key for any CMOs to look for for those bits, for those trends, sometimes in not very obvious places. For example, speaking with people who are the opposite of you. The opposite of me would be a 13-year-old boy, because he represents the word that I have no access to. So today's trend that I see and that we need to be aware of as marketers is disruption. And we are bored with everything that is like over personalized and beautified, that perfected by AI. And we look for things that are raw, authentic, weird, quirky. At the end, we want to have fun and be surprised. And that's why I was recently a correspondent at Cannes Lions. And it was interesting to see that in the festival, where it was mega brands, mega money, Amazon, Google, really dominating the whole scene, the campaigns that won were all weird. So, for example, Hornet herpes from New Zealand, which we're saying that herpes is cool. It was, of course, a social awareness campaign. Or another one, Soup Drops, which was very interesting. Not sure if you've seen it, but it was during the cold and flu season. A company launched hard candy flavored chicken soup broth. And of course, it got so much attention, 30 billion plus earned media impressions. So different celebrities commenting on those soup drops online, fantastic success. Or my favorite, IKEA. So IKEA was sending booty calls at 1:32 a.m. asking you up. And if you were up, you will get a voucher to buy a mattress. So this is what actually gets attention. And one of my favorites is a bit older, but it's also awesome. So Burger King in the UK, actually, Burger King and the Big Black Sheep, so the agency, someone from those were on some mom's chat on WhatsApp, and they realized that mothers after giving birth are really hungry. So they combined the two, and there was a campaign about burgers being delivered to maternity ward minutes after the child was delivered, which was, of course, very raw, authentic. Those women were not, made up. They were all red and and tired, but it was a massive success, right? So that's why there's just so much that we see now, which is not made by a machine. However, of course, we cannot forget about AI, because AI can help us find those trends, right? Scrapping all the internet content. We also have all the evil tools. We have mass personalization, we have mass data, we have those algorithms, persuasive tools that make you, thanks to that, you are going to have a job, maybe marry someone else, be skinny or rich, depending on the algorithm. So it's really internet that is going to shape your life. So of course we have to be aware of that. And that's why I'm thinking, as marketers now, we have to behave a little bit like in the crypto world, because the moment when mass audience learns that you have to invest in Dogecoin, it's too late. So you have to be early, and you have to have a little bit of that investor mindset and not to be afraid. We're often blocked by compliance, brand assets, tone of voice. We act in marketing, we act like we're in compliance, which is so wrong, right? We should be creative. We should not, nobody cares at the end, like if you use the right logo, my opinion as the CMO. That's why Ryanair giving their social media to interns is brilliant, and they create something really awesome, even if sometimes it backlashes. So overall, what I would recommend is, of course, environments evolve, technologies evolve, tools evolve and are new every year, but you have to look what your customer wants. So you basically need to invest in solid voice of the customer programs, because what customers want also changes.
Oh wow, okay, that's a really interesting insight, and shows kind of how you've been working through on the strategy side. And the other bit that you excel at is kind of building high performing teams from scratch, often in terms of these scale ups that you're working with. So how do you do that?
There are a few different ways. So number one, you build your team thinking about what you want that team to achieve, and not what people you want to be in the team. So almost you have to first have an idea what the processes are, what markets you want to target, and only based on that you assemble the right team. And I've seen it also during many transformations. I've been working on 6 acquisitions and multiple integrations, that sometimes taking even the best employees from one team to build another didn't work. Almost you had to recreate that team from the ground up. thinking about what you really want to achieve. And then I always look for people who have a lot of energy, who are the go-getters. I love to be surrounded by people who are like me, who are always like, who have a very positive mindset, but also those who have lots of different interests. And I think in marketing, it is very important to be constantly inspired. That's why I send my teams to the opera. If I have interns in the London office, they have to go to the Tower of London and show me pictures, that they really went there. So we have to be inspired and be surrounded by all this different, even different brands, and inspiring people around us to see what the new trends are.
Okay, so we've got a theme here in terms of these insights and trends. What, in terms of kind of priorities for CMOs, and I'm sure you've got your own ones, but any themes that you see in terms of priorities for CMOs over the next couple of years?
Absolutely. So the first one is, of course, the economic headwinds, uncertainty, and chain disruptions, tariffs, consumers who are really watching every dollar now. So there's like lots of things that as CMOs we need to be aware of. And that's why often campaigns targeting us, which promise us the new AI developed technology, do not really resonate if you are an automotive brand in the US and you don't know if you are going to lose millions in the next quarter. So those economic headwinds, it's a massive area of focus. The other one, of course, AI and AI agents, which represent a massive opportunity, great expectations, but at the same time, there are massive risks related to that. So there's fraud, cybersecurity, website squatting, and cloning of everything that you put online immediately. That's why we see already the first regulation, the first one in Italy this week, penalizing deep fakes with up to 5 years in prison. So it is already starting. And of course, that's why people are now looking forward into more trusted and premium environments.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying for years that journalism is dead, that publishers are struggling. But actually, surprisingly, because of the war in Ukraine and also Gaza, and because of Trump, we look back to those trusted sources and the journalists to give us to fight against disinformation. So it is also a massive area where brands need to maybe pivot. Search is going to change, and it's already changing with AI. That's why I'm doing a course now on SEO for AI specifically, how to be selected as the top brand when someone is looking for your product on Perplexity or ChatGPT. Influencer and creator marketing, back to my point earlier about things that are raw, authentic, and human, massive area as well. Apparently 80% brands are already using influencers and creator marketing, and it's bigger now in the UK than all the revenues from cinema worldwide. So it is going to be quite big. Areas that I would look also into are affiliate marketing. People don't usually understand what it is, but it is also a massive area for growth and for reducing your cost of acquisition. And another one, I'll give you the last one. In a few months, so in next year, there will be an opportunity to create that brand name top level domain. So, for example, if you are FIFA, or if you are healthcare or a financial company, you should really look into how to protect your brand online from being cloned. And that's how, if you have half a million or even $250,000, invest in that brand new identity. So there's many ways. I'm happy to give more details. It's a new round launched by Icon. And as I said, everything is back to trusted sources and making sure that you really squeeze out everything from this $1 you spent.
Wow, that's definitely the most comprehensive list of things that I've had as an answer on one of these Q&As yet. Thank you for that. Thinking now in terms of our audience, there'll be people who will be listening to this who are head or director of, and they've set their sights on this CMO level that you've achieved. What advice would you share with anyone who wishes to become a CMO? What can they do to kind of help themselves along that journey?
First, you have to build relationships. So relationships internally, but also externally. CMOs are usually the one role in the C-suite that is the least trusted So it's also the shortest lived.
Okay.
So that's why you have to make sure that you actually are building those relationships both with your CEO as well as the rest of the board. Very, very important. Second, you have to market yourself and you have to market your team, not only your company or your CEO. Because we often forget about promoting also our own achievements. That's why it's so important for any CMO to apply for awards, speaking engagements, but also promote the achievements of the marketing team. We usually never have time for that ourselves. Third, I would say commercial mindset. That's why I'm so grateful also for the opportunity to manage the sales and marketing teams, because this is really a power that many CMOs maybe don't have, but it massively helps them in showing that what they do brings value to the company. Fourth, I think there's no shortcut there. You have to really know your products, your services, your clients, your customers, your competitors. You really have to spend time. I know it might be painful, you might not have time for it, but you have to spend time and really understand what your company does. Sit with your programmer, your media buyer, sit with the customer service team, and really understand better what you do. And finally, of course, we say we need to build a legacy, but what that legacy would be, in my case, it is building teams. It's building teams that really work well together, and even if we change jobs, we stay friends and we support each other in our next endeavors.
Thank you very much. That's some good tips for people who are kind of, how do they help take their career track forward? And you've mentioned there about mindset. I ask this with all the Q&As that we do, which is, I'm a big believer in positivity, growth mindset, having these daily rituals that kind of keep us all on track. And, they can be quite personal ones, but do you have any formulas that you follow, rituals that you do? How do you maintain your energy, positivity, growth mindset?
I'm very lucky because I am generally healthy and I have a lot of energy, and I hope it will never end. But I think there's just also, it might be a cliche, but it's good food, good sleep, exercise, right? And there's just no shortcut around it. You have to really think about being healthy first. But also we have to be a good example for our teams. And I really don't like managers who brag about working late, or sending an email over the weekend, or saying how they had a conversation on Friday night. I really don't like it. And my view is that this is not resilience. This is just, it can really lead to serious issues. That's why if I work late, I always schedule my emails in the morning for the team, so they don't have to feel rewarded for responding at midnight. And it is very important. And being a company motivator, I've seen it firsthand how stress can really stop your career.
Yeah.
So another thing that I would also do is to look like what makes you happy. And for me, it is, of course, spending time with my teams, my family, my little nieces, but also going to conferences. So that would that gives me the biggest pleasure in my day.
What makes you happy? And it's how we each have our own way of kind of replenishing our energy reserves. And yours, as you say, your teams, family, and conferences, and it can be quite unique, but it's so important for me. 100%, it's daily exercise. I'm a nicer person for my daily exercise, I think would be the honest way of putting it.
I also went for a run this morning. It helps you with your with the circulation, right?
Good for the body, good for the head. Sabina, brilliant answers. Thank you ever so much for your time and your open and kind of honest input there. I'm really grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Suzie. It was a pleasure to see you today. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine.